Have you ever felt that the more deeply you think, the more distant you become from others? That the more you understand, the less people want to listen? If so, you're not alone. Throughout history, society has been wary of deep thinkers, not because they are wrong, but because they see what others refuse to. From Socrates to Galileo, from Nietzsche to Tesla, brilliant minds have often been ridiculed, ignored, or even persecuted. Not for a lack of intelligence, but because their insights made people uncomfortable. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most unfiltered philosophers, believed intelligence was not a gift, but a curse, one that isolates those who see the world too clearly. But why does this happen? Why does society resist those who think differently? The answer lies deep in human psychology. Imagine this. When you stand next to someone physically strong, you don't necessarily feel weak. You admire their strength. When you meet someone wealthy, you might envy them, but you don't feel personally attacked. But when confronted with someone who is intellectually superior, something different happens. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A deep thinker doesn't just introduce new ideas, they unintentionally hold up a mirror, reflecting the limitations of those around them. And that is something people rarely forgive. The mere presence of an insightful mind can make others feel inadequate, even if the thinker says nothing at all. But why does intelligence, more than any other form of superiority, provoke discomfort? It's because intelligence is tied to identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of the world. When someone comes along who questions what we take for granted, it feels like an attack on our very sense of self. Instead of admiration, intelligence is often met with resistance, not because deep thinkers are arrogant, but because their existence forces others to confront their own limitations. This is why, throughout history, deep thinkers have been pushed to society's fringes. Their ideas don't just challenge traditions, they challenge egos. And human beings will do almost anything to protect their egos. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever tried to bring up a deep or complex idea in casual conversation, only to be met with blank stares or awkward silence? Have you noticed how quickly people change the topic when discussions go beyond the surface? This isn't a coincidence, it's a defense mechanism. When people encounter deep thinkers, their minds go into self-preservation mode. Instead of being curious, they resist. Instead of engaging, they dismiss. This is why intellectuals, philosophers, and visionaries often find themselves isolated. Not because they seek solitude, but because society unconsciously pushes them away. Studies even show that confidence is valued more than intelligence in social settings. People are drawn to those who project certainty, even if their ideas are shallow. This is why charismatic but simplistic thinkers gain more influence than deep thinkers who embrace nuance. History proves this paradox. Populist leaders, motivational speakers, and viral influencers thrive by telling people what they want to hear, not by challenging them to think critically. Meanwhile, those who question accepted beliefs often struggle to find a broad audience. The more someone seeks truth, the more they become disconnected from the majority. The mirror effect doesn't just reveal society's limitations, it explains why society resists change in the first place. But is there scientific proof that people actually fear intelligence? Neuroscience says yes. Studies show that when people feel intellectually inferior, their brain's amygdala, the region responsible for detecting threats, becomes highly active. In simple terms, deep thinking doesn't just intimidate, it triggers the same fear response as a physical threat. But why? The answer lies in evolution. For most of human history, survival wasn't about being the smartest person in the room. It was about being accepted by the group. Our ancestors thrived in tribes where social harmony meant safety. Being cast out meant vulnerability, even death. This is why the human brain prioritizes social acceptance over intellectual pursuit. When a deep thinker enters a social setting, they disrupt the tribal balance. Their presence challenges existing ideas, social norms, and group dynamics. This triggers a defense mechanism, as if the thinker were an enemy, rather than just a person with a different perspective. A 2021 study at Stanford uncovered something even more revealing. The rejection of intelligence depends on context. One-on-one, people feel less threatened by intellectuals, but in group settings, the fear response spikes. Why? Because social status becomes more important. People don't just react to intelligence, they react to how others perceive them in comparison. If someone feels outshined, they instinctively try to undermine or exclude the thinker to protect their standing. Cognitive biases also play a role. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains that people with lower ability often overestimate their intelligence, while those who are truly intelligent tend to doubt themselves. This creates friction. Those who know little often believe they know more than they do, leading them to dismiss deeper thinkers. Another bias, the status quo effect, makes the human brain prefer familiar ideas over complex truths. Intelligence introduces disruptive thoughts, and that makes people uncomfortable. And then there's the backfire effect. When people are confronted with facts that contradict their beliefs, they don't change their minds. They double down. Deep thinkers often experience this when introducing challenging ideas. Social media has only amplified this resistance to intelligence. Algorithms favor engagement over depth, meaning that controversial, emotionally charged content spreads faster than thoughtful, well-reasoned discussions. Viral content is often simplistic and misleading, while deep thinkers struggle to compress their insights into bite-sized, attention-grabbing formats. As a result, society increasingly values entertainment over enlightenment. So what does this mean for deep thinkers? The rejection of intelligence isn't just social, it's psychological, biological, and cultural. It is built into human nature, reinforced by group dynamics, and magnified by modern technology. This doesn't mean deep thinkers should stop sharing their ideas, but it does mean they need to understand the forces working against them. If society resists intelligence, what does it embrace? The answer is comfort, a world where predictability is preferred over truth. Schopenhauer believed that the smarter a person is, the harder it is for them to connect with society. He argued that most people are driven by what he called the will to live, the pursuit of pleasure, comfort, and survival. However, highly intelligent people develop something different, the will to truth, an insatiable need to understand reality, even if it leads to discomfort. Where most people find meaning in entertainment, relationships, and routine pleasures, deep thinkers often see these as distractions from bigger existential questions. The more they understand human nature, the harder it becomes to relate to others. They see through lies and deception. Most social interactions rely on small talk, status games, and polite dishonesty. But deep thinkers crave depth, and society rewards simplicity. So, if you often feel misunderstood, remember, you are not alone. The struggle of the deep thinker is not a sign of failure, but of clarity. And while society may resist uncomfortable truths, history shows that those who challenge the status quo are often the ones who shape the future.